Sometimes we have to face some pretty tough choices in life. Yes, no, tea, coffee, stay in the EU, leave the EU, blonde, brunette, or both. But as cyclists, one of the more interesting choices that we can make is electronic shifting or regular cable shifting. Now this might surprise you, but every single gear system, be it electronic or cable, works in exactly the same way. Basically, all you're doing is moving a chain up and down a series of cogs to change the gear ratio of your rear wheel. So for instance, if you're in a low gear, for every single revolution of your pedals, your rear wheel might make 5 revolutions. And similarly, if you're in a high gear, that same single revolution of the pedals might result in 10 revolutions of the rear wheel. Now obviously this makes it easier or harder to pedal, but it also has an impact on your overall speed. The big difference is how each system moves that chain up and down those cogs. So traditional gears relies on cable tension. When you make a shift using traditional gears, what you're actually doing is either increasing or decreasing the tension in a cable that's connected directly to your rear derailleur. As you increase the tension, it moves the derailleur up the cogs, taking the chain with it, and when you decrease the tension, it moves the derailleur back down the block. By contrast, electronic systems use motors, so when you click the shifters, it's very much like making a mouse click. An electronic signal is sent down a wire to a motor, and then that moves the derailleur. As we all know, traditional cable gear systems generally work very well. The only problems you're likely to encounter can be put down to cable stretch, in which case all you need to do is put the bike on a stand, retension the cable, and you should be good to go. But electronic systems claim to be super reliable, needing little if any maintenance at all. So I have to admit that a couple of years ago I took the plunge and bought a bike that was equipped with Shimano Di2 electronic gears. I hasten to add that I didn't buy it specifically for the gears. I did like the bike. It was a Trek, a lovely blue colour, it was relatively cheap, and plus I just fancied a new bike. Since I've been riding it, I have to say that yes, it is indeed super reliable. I've not had to make any adjustments, and pretty much every shift I've made has been crisp and accurate. As it's my best bike, I only ride it in the summer, which means it spends most of the winter parked up in the garage. Now when I come to take it out again in May, I don't really need to worry about the gears because being Di2, they are super accurate. Now I don't think I would be able to say that with a traditional cable gear system because left over the winter the cable would stretch and then you'd have to do some minor adjustments, but it would still be pretty good. Another advantage of electronic systems is that they can be super customizable. Customizable? Doesn't sound right. I'm sure you know what I mean. Basically, you can set them up so you can have them exactly as you want. So for instance, instead of having the rear derailleur on the right shifter, you can put it on the left shifter. Or, like me, if you want to hold down the right shifter, you can just keep going through the gears until you get to the one you want. Many of them now will also communicate via Bluetooth with your cycling computer. So instead of looking back at your rear derailleur to see what gear you're in, it's right there in front of you. Now the main disadvantage to electronic systems is cost. If you have two bikes with a similar frame and brakes and group set and everything, one's got electronic gears, one's got traditional cable gears, you're going to end up paying a lot more for the one with the electronic gears. Plus, they are not completely maintenance free. Like any bike, you do have to keep it clean. Plus, if anything does go slightly wrong, you will need to adjust it from time to time. Plus, if you want some of the added features, you will need to update the software, which means taking it into a bike shop and having it done there, and obviously that's a charge. And if something goes wrong, the replacement parts are going to be a lot more expensive because they are such precision instruments. And heavens forbid, what happens when things inevitably become obsolete? You may have to pay for a complete upgrade, in which case it will probably be cheaper to buy a complete new bike. A prime example of this is my Di2 battery. Like all rechargeables, it's not a question of if, but when it will fail, as they only ever have a certain amount of charge cycles in them. It's already part of an aging Di2 system, and the newer ones have very different batteries. So what do I do when it fails? Well, I have two choices. I can either try and find a replacement, or I'll have no choice but to scrap the entire system, which would be a bit of a shame for the sake of a $100 battery. As I said earlier, traditional cable systems are pretty reliable. To be honest, there's not a lot that can go wrong with them that can't also go wrong with electronic systems. But one of the main problems that you're likely to encounter is cable snap. Now, this is pretty easy to fix, particularly if you're out and about. You just go to a local bike shop, it's a readily available part, it's quick and easy to fit, and it's relatively cheap. Electronic systems, on the other hand, when they go wrong, we're now in the realms of expensive parts that need to be ordered, specialist pieces of kit to fit those parts, and mechanics with specialist training. But to be fair, electronic systems don't really go wrong all that often. There are a couple of mechanicals that you could experience, like wires being broken or cables being disconnected, but to be fair, I've only ever seen that happen in crash situations, and the bike was completely unrideable afterwards anyway. And then of course there is the battery. If you're out and about and it goes flat, mechanical doesn't miraculously somehow take over. You'll be stuck in one gear and you'll have to get yourself home in one gear. Fortunately, Di2 does give you some kind of warning. It won't let you use the front derailleur, only the rear one. But again, if it goes flat, you'll be stuck in one gear. But a flat battery is so easily avoided with a regular charging regime. And don't forget your mech hanger. Now, if you don't know what this is, it's a small metal bracket that attaches your rear derailleur to your frame, and they're deliberately made to be a little bit fragile, so that if you do have a problem with your rear derailleur, it shears off the mech hanger, not the frame. Obviously, replacing a little 10-15 pound mech hanger is going to be a lot better than replacing your frame or your rear derailleur. Both electronic and traditional cable gear systems use mech hangers, and if you're experiencing some kind of problem that you can't put right simply or quickly, then chances are you've damaged that little mech hanger. Now believe me, if this is the case, you'll never put it right in a month of Sundays, so avoid damaging that little mech hanger at all costs. So which gear system do you use and why? You can leave me a comment below. If you found this information useful, please like and share, and if you'd like to get the most out of your cycling, why not subscribe for my regular weekly uploads, and don't forget to click the little bell icon so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.